Hey y'all, so I wanted to go over determining which way you need to install these coupling capacitors. Now sometimes you'll see on the capacitors there'll be like a band on here, but these tad mustards are not marked, and even those with a band on there, I still highly recommend you check because they can be marked incorrectly. So I'm doing this with a scope, but you can also do this with just a guitar amplifier and a cord. So with the scope, what I'll do is I'll connect the probe, positive on one leg, ground on the other, and hold. Let me adjust this down a little bit so you can see. So you can see about how big the waveform is there. So now let's swap it around. And you can see how much smaller it is now. How much smaller the waveform is. So that means that the side that the ground was on, so I've already marked it here, this is the side that needs to go towards the ground direction. Basically, you want your signal to flow through basically this way. So signal in, signal out is kind of how I like to think about it. So let's get these put on the turret board and go from there. All right, so before I install the resistors, I kind of want to go over the different types of resistors that I use. First ones are these brown bodied ones that a lot of people have seen in vintage amplifiers. These are carbon comps. Most of the time I will use these in the signal path. So like the grid stopper resistors, slope resistors, any sort like that. These yellow bodied one are carbon film. They are more stable than the carbon comps. Sometimes I'll use these in the signal path, but in this case I'm going to use these as plate resistors. They've got a little bit more of the vintage tone to them. Then these blue bodied ones. These are metal oxide resistors. They can handle a good bit of power. That's the reason why typically we'll see these in the power supply as they're dropping resistors. Sometimes you'll see these used as plate resistors or cathode resistors. I generally don't. If I'm not using carbon for the plate resistors, I would be using these metal film resistors. These are the ones that are going to be the artificial center tap for the filaments on this amplifier. These are Dale R65Ns, I believe is what the number on them are, or 60s. And these are mil-spec resistors. Dumble used these as the plate resistors in pretty much all of his overdrive specials. Last are these sandcast resistors. They're wired wound. One thing you have to watch out for with wire wound resistors is kind of stray inductance. Never really want to use these in the signal part of the amplifier, but they can be a great addition to power supply to help knock down a little bit of noise. Because your choke is essentially one big inductor, and these kind of act like a small inductor. Something else I want to show is on this one right here, because the body of this capacitor is exposed and it's also the negative, I've got some, not heat shrink, but this is just stripped off of a piece of wire and going to use that to add some insulation to this. So now we got this insulated, and it's also, hard to tell, but elevated above the capacitor. One thing you may notice is traditionally in this spot, you would see a 820 ohm resistor. I'm using a 1K. So one of the things I do to simulate a vintage amp is generally increase the value like one standard up. So for example, these resistors here that are going to be the plate resistors, you can see on the package they're 110K. So it simulates like a drifted resistor. So that's about all I have for today. So I will get back on this later and got to order a new capacitor because that one broke. Just my luck. Thank y'all. Have a great day.